I just want to get straight to it. What do you wish you knew when you first got started doing this? And I think that kind of gets to the root. There's probably a lot of skills that you've probably learned in the last 6 months or 6 years. What do you wish you you knew and could tell yourself from even 6 years ago? What would you say about your industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's a lot of fear around high voltage, and there's so many safety mechanisms designed within both aftermarket and OEM cars that are going to keep you safe. And if you don't know if they're going to keep you safe, you can just do some simple algebra, of Ohm's law to see if you're safe. And so I think that was a good piece of advice. I know the first time Tom and I wired bus bars, we were terrified. But it was really just understanding that the fundamental mechanisms of that algebraic equation will work and will keep you safe, as well as your students.
V equals IR.
What if you're not good at math?
Yeah.
Trial and error works really good.
Use a multimeter.
You don't have to be good. You just got to use it.
Yeah. Use a multimeter.
Well, to kind of dovetail off of that, I mean, yeah, it's nice to know where limitations are, because I think one of the biggest things for me was when you're diving into these vehicles, it's the unknown. I mean, I remember the first time we split a drive unit out of a Tesla. It's like, has anybody done this? No. What's that? Well, I have no idea. And then you're pulling things apart, and when you first do anything for the first time, it is scary. It's like you said, the dangers involved, and also you don't want to break things. But as a kid, I always took apart everything. Everyone here remember VCRs? Yeah. My parents used to hand me the broken ones, and I used to try to fix them. So I wasn't really afraid to jump into this thing, and that's what, I wish I kind of knew more about things, because I would have probably been a lot further in my career of doing this EV stuff if I had maybe some formal education on what this stuff really does. So I didn't have to spend so much time tinkering, trying to figure things out and going, oh, well, that took me like 4 days to figure out something that I should have known already. So, what you guys are doing as shop teachers, I think is very important, especially with this next generation of little humans growing up, is now if we could, excel and give them a head start on those parts, then it'd just be way better technicians and smarter than what we were able to do.
Mm-hmm. Cool, thank you.
I wish that I would have known that there are such lucrative careers that you don't have to go to college for. Being in high school in the 90s, my parents had not gone to college. I was told that was the only path, so you choose a degree. I majored in government. I'm not working in government. But just knowing that if you have a special gift that so many of your students have, that gift can be nurtured through other paths than the four-year university and lead to a really fulfilling career and fulfilling life.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a very loaded one, if you will, right? Because there's so many things. Again, for us, we've been, in the space of education over 55 years, and what I would say in the past 6 years, and a lot of it actually, I kid you not, dawned on me just a minute ago. I know we keep on saying it's hands-on, and it is hands-on. I think we have to add the word, and it's also mind-on. Mm-hmm. We know that, again, if you don't have the math, if you don't have the skills to problem solve and do diagnosis, you can have great hand skills, but it also is the other. So it's the power of the and, if you will. So I think we have to continue to both raise and recognize that it isn't like, well, you're just going to go work on cars and get your hands dirty. No, you're going to get your mind engaged at 100%, right? I mean, look at the examples of electricity. And I think we collectively have a big challenge right ahead of ourselves. How do we educate a country that it isn't just one or the other, it is the both? Because the pay is there, the need and the industry is there, the jobs are growing tremendously, and again, as we look at technology is so many ages ahead of many of us, it's just going to be difficult just to catch up to that as well too, though. So for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. All right. Okay. Yeah. What do you wish you knew?
I wish I had a better understanding of how steep the learning curve was going to be transitioning from the old ICE technology to this new EV technology. Because unfortunately, in the years that I've been with this company, I've seen too many examples of failure of making that transition, especially with older technicians. Older technicians come to us with a ton of years of experience behind their backs, and we think that will carry them to do well, and they don't. Actually, what we have seen is that the younger guys with less experience make the transition way easier. And that's what you guys in the classroom are coming to play. The better that we can prep the new kids into this technology, the better they're gonna be off when they start working on cars, because this is not something that statistically, from what I've seen, is something that translates into success when you're already set on your ways. So keep that in mind when you're teaching in the classroom, because it's really important to have that knowledge drilled in their minds, just so in case they need them, because they will need them.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Gosh, what do I wish I wish I knew to buy
It's a big
Tesla
question.
stock. That's a thought.
It's never too
Apple
late.
Something.
Slow down again.
So I always tell this joke, but it's true. So I worked in ASE test development and IT and customer service and all these different roles. And about 5 years ago, my boss came to me and said, so how about if you go over and work on the education side? And literally I said this, education, how hard could that be? What a moron.
Yeah.
So I was an adjunct at the local community college, and I taught one class. Anybody else here adjunct? God bless you. Now, I don't know if your experience is the same as my experience. It's the easiest job in the world. You show up, you teach your class, you know, you put the grades in the computer at the end of the semester and get your paycheck, and away you go. What I've learned in the last 5 years is, holy cow, you know, so my background, you know, I knew OE and aftermarket and all the politics and, you know, all the technology and all the challenges that the independents have and all the challenges that the dealers have and all that kind of stuff. Understood the industry great. And I start working with education and I'm like, oh my gosh, education has a whole different set of challenges. So like if you're a college instructor, chances are you got to teach your classes and you got to develop all your lab sheets and you got to go recruit your class for next year and you got to help get jobs for your students this year, you know, and on and on and on. You know, the job isn't just like an adjunct, show up, teach your class, go home. So education has its own set of challenges, and the politics and secondary and post-secondary don't always work together, and it's different from this city to that city or this county to that county, this state to that state. They've got all their other challenges, and we come as industry people and we say, well, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? Come bring your, you know, I call in March and I say, you know, I got an opening, send me your best student. Well, guess what? That best student had a job since September, okay? So don't call me in March and say, send me your best student. You know, where were you in August and September helping me get these students acclimated and get them trained up and stuff? The good news is, like I said earlier, you know, we have a national problem. It's got a local solution. You got local business owners working together with educators, but understand each other that you speak different languages and you have different challenges. So industry, don't say to education, why don't you just do this? And educators, you got to draw the industry and help them understand these are the sorts of challenges that we do. You know, we can't do anything without a you know, permission slip from the parents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just working together and understand each other.
I really appreciate you saying all that. I'm an educator. I teach high school shop class. Changes are slow. They're really slow. It's not the, oh, you thought of the idea, but now you need 1,000 approvals. So you guys are the industry, and so I want to ask you, what is the most exciting project you're working on in the last year or two? Pick something exciting that you've done that you want to talk about.
Don't let me go
Whoever,
first.
and there's no rules
Yeah.
to whoever goes first. Whoever's ready. I can tell you. Okay, you ready? Yeah, Eddie's ready. All right, go ahead. Yeah, I was gonna fill it. I don't need to with Eddie here.
Okay, well, so
Eddie's on fire, by the way.
Make sure you got the 444 in there.
yeah, well, that's the part I wanted to touch on. So a couple of years ago, we did get involved with Bonneville Land Speed Racing, and we were approached by the fastest team in the world, Team Vesco. They own the land speed record at 503 miles an hour, world's fastest car, wheel driven. Now there's jet cars and all sorts of stuff, but when you start talking about records and the fastest and the best and the biggest, all of a sudden it gets really narrow up there, and the challenges are huge. So I was fortunate enough to be contacted by them. They wanted to take one of their vehicles. It was built in 1957. It's called the Little Giant, number 444. cars probably has more accolades behind it than anything on assault. I think its top speed was 339 with Sanderson V8 race motor, $100,000 engine inside of it. And they've been doing this since the 1930s.
Wow.
So to go out with such a prestigious team and have them hand us that car and say, hey, do you guys want to put something electric in it? And of course, I'm kind of crazy. I'm like, yeah, let's do it, you know. And we got a couple of friends together. We got Maddie here, Snow, and a couple of guys, and said, okay, I think we could do this. Mathematically, kind of worked out on paper. It's like we need X amount of horsepower, X amount of torque to go this fast, because they already gave me the formula. We know this car goes this fast under X. Now just replace X with your electric motors, and we could go faster or around the same speed. The world record is, I think, was 341 at the time.
Wow.
And we did go out and test run the car. I almost did 300 on its first shakedown run.
Wow.
I remember my brother looking at me going, wow, that was, you're lucky. Because we did the whole thing in 4 months from start to finish. That was
4 months.
4
Wow.
months from the car showing up at our shop with the V8 ripped out of it to now building a battery pack that fits into this small envelope, putting a powertrain system in that works. All these what ifs, but once again, go back to math, go back to basic stuff. Physics doesn't change. So as long as we stuck to the numbers, we're gonna get it done right. Well, we went out, shook it down at almost 300 miles an hour, went out a month later with a new battery pack and broke the world record.
Right.
And,
Wow.
Yeah, and the top speed on that one was almost 360. We did get our record at 353.4, I believe, something like that. Yeah, exactly.
Who had the-
353.8.
Eddie, who had the record before that?
Yeah, so that was Ohio State Buckeye Bullet, and I think they held that record for 16 years. It took,
How much, what's the total investment into their car?
oh, they had millions. I think they had like $6 to $8 million inside the thing. 10 years.
Yeah, but money from that time compared to now.
Oh
that'd be
yeah,
doubled.
I mean, doubled. I mean, I
Yeah.
did this on my own budget. Of course, we had some people help out, but cash-wise, I sponsored it. We were
And then-
pregnant with our third at the time, so that
Oh,
was
wow.
really tough. But we do have very, very good friends. Snow, Danny, the Wheeling Welshman, Maddie over there. A lot of people helped out with this, and it took a village to kind of come together with good friends, good people. And a bunch of knuckle-dragging jackasses were able to pull off and blow away a bunch of,
Nice.
high-end guys out of college. So that was really cool for us. Like,
Nice.
dude, we're a bunch of morons.
And
We did it.
I want to plant the seed that was the third category, right?
Yeah.
And there's a number 2.
Correct.
EV West has that, and then there's L1 is open.
Yeah.
Right? There's
Go do
another
it.
category, I think under 1,000 pounds.
It's 100 kilos, 1,000 kilos.
Could
1,000
be your
kilos.
students.
Oh, there's more categories.
Now there's way more categories.
All right.
In fact, I should have brought the rule book, but we're really looking forward to having a whole lot more people show up.
Yep.
And that's really important for, I think, competition breeds more
Absolutely.
success.
Yeah.
Innovation
And I
too.
think students, if we can get them involved in any of the teams that are doing it, Southern California Timing Association, I'm sure would love to see them. We race El Mirage, and then we also race Bonneville. And I'm saying it's well received. It's, that group's
Well,
better than most.
you know, I want to thank Omar.
Leaders in the room, maybe we can organize a high school contest throughout the county, and then maybe we can find some sponsorship, and we can get on board with.
I'm getting chills.
EV
This is
Yeah.
dude. Let's do it.
And Switch and some of the other companies that have products, and maybe we can find a class per product and make something a reality.
Yeah, and we don't have to.
Where's my grant writing manager?
Yeah.
Is he left already?
Yeah, and like Omar said, and Mark.
Okay, you're here.
So-
Here we go. We got Oceanside, right? You're Oceanside.
Well, I'll help write it.
Yeah. okay.
Nice.
Yeah, we need a driver who's gonna.
Well, no, Mark and Omar touched on, this is what made me want to get into this, is the competitive nature. And, anyone, you put them in a sandbox, I want to build my sandbox bigger than yours.
Yeah,
Mine
yeah.
didn't fall over. But if you breed that into the kids and have fun, like Omar's kids helped with our little car, little giant in the car. They rebuilt the motors for our second season. So once again, that's really a good way to bring the kids into this and have them be part of this, it's a historic
I'm
moment.
going to chime in on that. So while I'll just speak from here, but while the University of Ohio is building the Buckeye Bullet, and these students are going through their masters and their academic program in engineering, building a land speed car, we did the equivalent here in the high school for our high school students. So with the help of the Vescos, with all of it,
Yeah.
by them allowing the students to be part of the history making event.
Go ahead. All right, we'll just take a question, yeah.
I just want to add on, being a high school counselor while that was going on, some of those students ditched all their classes, but all of them.
I ditched my classes for
Yeah, that's normal for shop kids. Yeah.
My math teacher used to throw me out because I was like a junior in like a pre-algebra class because I failed it so many times. He goes, just go to shop.
Yeah.
And I'll just give you a D this year.
All right, well, we can't top that, so it's over. No. Okay, let me just bring it. I'll highlight one. So I don't know how anybody's going to follow that. I can't either. But bring it opposite, not competitive, but just doing the conversion of a gas car. We did that last summer at the EVLC, Electric Vehicle Learning Center, and we did it in 5 weeks with 20 adult students that had no idea. Okay, now some of those people had other industry experience, but some had none. And we collectively did it. So it is possible. Set a goal, and it's possible. That would be the exciting thing I did in the last year. Cool. So we'll go down the line. Who's next? Okay.
All right. So at SEMA last year, we ended up meeting one of the Black Eyed Peas, Apple D app. And we just recently signed an agreement with the Asian Development Bank because Apple is from the Philippines and he wanted to give back to his original home country. And, something we hadn't thought about is, those island communities, it's not really very economical to import all these new vehicles to those communities. So it's way more climate resilient to convert all of the vehicles on those islands to electric. And so we're really excited that Ambassador Wong was at our facility last week about moving this forward in Southeast Asia to allow those communities the opportunity to learn about EV foundations, become EV technicians, and then really excited to think about the impact that can have on developing nations who maybe don't have the economic superpowers behind them to completely overhaul their factories and manufacturing, but instead we can upcycle the gas-powered vehicles that are there. So it's really like an unintended market we hadn't really thought about seeing. We've also seen safari vehicles in Africa getting converted to electric because silent tourism is really helpful.
You're going to start up the diesel and scare the animals.
Yeah. So the idea of seeing like developing nations kind of investing in retrofits, I think not only meets those climate goals if people care about that, but our company motto is honoring the past and protecting the future. Like we can keep these cars on the road and just re-powertrain them, which I think is really cool.
Nice, thank you.
It's hard to top those, so
Yeah. These are all good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
So we've done a program with North Texas auto dealers that we've got some interest around the country, and it might have an application here, talking about tapping into that competitive spirit that I think everybody kind of enjoys. And so we support Skills USA, and a lot of people do Skills USA contests. With North Texas auto dealers, what we did was we identified high schools who volunteered. They wanted to be in the program. They had an internal competition, chose 3 student teams, typically seniors, and they had criteria for how you get to be on the team. But once they had a team, they partnered them with a local dealer. And so, this school's partnered with a Nissan dealer. This school's partnered with a Chevy dealer. This school's partnered with a Ford dealer. And they actually go and they spend 6 weeks job shadowing with technicians. And so they're not only are they learning about, Ford technology, on this particular vehicle, but they're also learning about what's flat rate all about. Because, guess what? If they don't understand flat rate and they come to work on Monday and like, what? I'm getting paid how? So they're learning what it's like to really be in a shop, taking care of their customer's car, respecting the teamwork in the shop, respecting the customer's equipment, respecting the dealer's equipment, but also partnering with those technicians. And so then the culmination of that is they have a competition at Texas Motor Speedway where if I was partnered with Ford dealers, the car that's bugged is a Ford that I'm working on. It's the car that I've been getting up to speed on for the last 6 weeks. You got a Nissan, you got a Chevy, whatever. So all the cars are bugged. So it's a typical, the kids have to go through, fix the bugs and everything, and then they've got to put it all in a repair order, because if you don't record it, if it didn't happen on paper, it never happened. So they get 0 points if they can't fill out the repair order and tell us how they diagnosed it and fixed it. So, and obviously, lots of prizes and scholarships and tools and whatnot to go with that. But the nice thing about it is the kids learn about what it's like to really be in the industry. The industry is like a 6-week, hey, I get an extended job interview, and these kids all come away with job offers. And then what we do is the following year, we partner the schools with different dealers. So that high school now, they've got a connection at the Ford dealership. They got a connection at the Chevy dealership. They got a connection at the Nissan dealership, et cetera, et cetera. And so it continues to grow their network of support in the industry.
Nice, thank you. Did anybody else have, what happened over, well, take a break for a second. Wait, I've got a question for the Tesla technician. Okay, let's shift gears a little, so to speak. Here, hold this for a second. This is what I want to know. What's the difference between you said you worked in other dealerships and you've been a mechanic. What's the difference between working at a regular dealership, let's say a gasoline dealership, and Tesla? What's the difference?
All of it.
Okay. Tell me. Give me like your top 3 biggest changes.
Pay rate first.
Okay. All right. All right.
At Tesla, we're not flat rate like the rest of the industry, so that's a big change from a technician comparing one thing to the other. Then second, the approach that you need to take to repairs. Like, you do not approach an ICE car the same way that you approach an EV car.
Tell us more. Like, how? What do you mean?
The simplest form would be safety, for example. Like, you're approaching a vehicle like a gas vehicle. Yes, it has flammable fuels inside, but you know that that thing is not going to blow up just because. But then an electric car, it's also not going to blow just because, but it could have a malfunction that could be dangerous to you, and there's no visual cue of it. So you have
Electricity's invisible.
So you don't see
Can't smell it.
that danger. So it's an approach that a lot of technicians out there, I know friends of mine that have been in the industry for many, many years, and they say that they will never work in an electric car because they're just scared of it. So that's something
that's the high voltage.
Yep. So that's something that is kind of a misconception, but it's also kind of true as well. Like your approach has to be different. So that's the second thing that is different. And the skill set. The skill set is different. Like you were saying at the beginning, like you still have all the mechanical parts that are exactly the same. You need to know them, but then you have to put on top of that a special kind of system.
Give me the top 3 skill sets.
Some people say no, but I would say that you do need to be really computer savvy.
Okay.
Because now you're going to experience failures that you do not get in a normal car. Like, how do you tell if the malfunction of this car has to do with a faulty hardware or faulty software? Like, how do you make the difference? How do you tell that? So you need a special skill set that can help you navigate through that diagnosis. So and that's the biggest part of the shock that technicians get when coming from outside to the EV world that they need to overcome.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yep.
That's awesome. Also, I'll mention, I've sent some students to the Tesla dealership for work, and there's a lot of room to move up because it's not a locally owned dealership, so it's corporate owned. So if your student starts there and they're gravitating towards engineering, they can move right up into the corporate level. In fact, one of my students, they fly them around the country going to dealerships to help with the hardest problems, and that got him promoted into engineering department. So he helped work on testing of the Cybertruck and also testing of the Tesla semi-truck. Go, we have a question.
I just had a quick question too. This may be something you all know, are the workshops cleaner in an electric car as opposed to like an auto shop like this where there's like more fumes and oil and stuff?
What customers tell us every single time.
What should I say about our shop?
When customers come to our service center, that the first thing they tell is like, if we didn't see the cars in here, you cannot tell that you're working on cars, because the first thing that shocks you is a smell. Like, it doesn't matter how clean you want to keep a shop, you're dealing with oils, with grease and stuff, and the smell is always there. In our place, it's not, because it's not something that we deal with all the time. So it is a lot cleaner.
If you're going to take them to a regular gasoline dealer, take them to any Penske dealership. Those are
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Most exciting in the last couple of years?
Well, just speaking to a few points, some of the greatest relationships that I've heard about have been young, like students or entry-level technicians working with an older mentor, because bringing that, the younger student is able to bring in maybe some of the computer learning or that type of thinking that they were born with, or since they were on their iPad at 3 years old. And so those partnerships are just so critical now, I think, as we're moving forward in this space, is that the mentors who have that abundance of mechanical knowledge working next to the entry-level students, it's really going to just create a better employee of the future. And we hear constantly about success stories of like that. Yes.
So when you say here in your data says new dealerships with mentor programs, is that a technician working as a team that has a team leader, and is that considered a mentor? Or is it a mentor that's actually guiding the student, or an entry-level technician, pushing them, challenging them, maybe getting their advanced level ASCs or getting more ASCs? Like, what counts as a mentor? Because anybody can just say, oh, I'm your mentor, and you never help that person. Or just say, well, figure it out on your own. We're a team here, but figure it out on your own. Like, what is that?
No, I think there's both paths, but I'm seeing more and more that an more advanced technician is partnering with the new entry-level technicians, and it is an actual mentor-mentee relationship. We are launching an apprenticeship program, an automotive technician apprenticeship program, in Orange and LA counties next month, and that will be a one-to-one mentor-mentee program. Nice. So another thing to point out is the ICE shops. One thing that surprised me most when walking into service departments was that every technician working on ICE vehicles was turned around at their laptop and their computer and doing very minimal work, on the actual vehicle. That was surprising to me. When you walk into a shop and every single technician is facing their computer.
You're looking at the codes first.
Exactly. Yeah.
May I?
Yeah.
Can I add something? When I started at my dealer, the top technician who was my mentor, he was actually getting paid a little bit extra to train me.
Yes.
So it wasn't like he was just doing things for me, kind of stuff. So that that made it more official.
Yes.
So yeah.
Let's go to this, and then I got a big question for everybody, and we can get back to you if you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah.
I just want to mention, I can already feel in the air of oh man, I'm a grimy person, I'm not tech savvy at all, and I hate getting under the dash and messing with those wires. This is intimidating. And I just want to mention that the greatest skill that you can give your students is the ability to problem solve. As we said, electricity is invisible. You cannot just Google where that loose crimp is in that wire, and we have taught out of these young people how to problem solve. And so when you're feeling intimidated about what value do I bring to these young people who are tech savvy, it's helping them understand, how do I use sensory inspection? How do I test my theory in a sandbox? How do I collect data on the problem that I'm trying to solve? Those are the skills that your 30 years of experience are going to be really invaluable to those students as they go on to solve problems on their computer or problems that are beyond you giving them the systems and processes to solve them on their own.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so now we're going to get the crystal ball out. Oh, go ahead. 5 minutes? Perfect. This is the perfect closer. I'm going to get my crystal ball out. What's going to happen in the next 3 years? What do you see going on industry-wise and opportunities for students and teachers? Whoever wants to go. Okay, let's send it down there.
Yeah, again, we work with all, Jerry earlier presented, we work with over 35 OEM, partners, and again, the technology and the science is decades ahead in advance. So for us, what we continue to see in our conversations with them is that, again, it is more, I can't remember who made the analogy, it's an iPad on wheels, if you will, right, or an iPhone on wheels. So it is going to continue to be more about, teaching networking, right? And networking not just with individuals, but a network system, a computer system, an electrical system. And I also like that it was mentioned earlier, and the fundamentals of the mechanical component, right? So it is an electromechanical, side to it, if you will, as well too. Though we're starting to dabble now into robotics and other programs as well too, for the same reasons, because those critical thinking skills are going to be needed so much more. And to tie in a little bit of the, again, going back to the 6 years ago, what aha moments, how do we continue to figure out how to make it more attractive for people to really see how exciting this is, if you will, right? Because again, it's endless, so therefore, if we think we're a little behind right now in the next 3 years, right, when, again, vehicles, there'll be more self-driving vehicles, even some OEM manufacturers are already talking to us about, vehicles that are, or rather, they're going to be flying, right? And they're not going to be flying 100 feet up in the air. They just need to be, 4 to 5 feet above the ground, if you will, right? So that is around it, right? We all know that the, exactly that, electric helicopters. I mean, it's not going to stop. So therefore, how do we at least just try to keep up as best as we can? And it takes us back to, again, those fundamental skills that I think I was talking with Omar earlier as well, too. If we wait till they get to the 11th grade, that's obviously a little too late, right?
Late.
We got to get
Very
much earlier on that as well, too, though, collectively, though. So I think that's the golden opportunity.
Cool. Let's all go rapid fire so that we're going to get to lunch and there's this exciting thing happening with the pack swap. So next 3 years, go.
Okay. Well, I'm from the hot rod side of things, and we call this hot rodding 2.0. It's kind of a phrase we coined here at our shop. Up until now, I think it's been really tough because it's a bunch of DIY guys, and you know this, Ron.
Yep.
We're all in our backyards trying to fidget and play with these electric cars and see what we're doing. Now the OEs have put billions and billions of dollars into the technology, and people want to, from the hot rod industry, always knocking the OEs. No, the OEs know what they're doing. They have very brilliant people behind them, but not only that, they have the capital to research and develop this stuff, the labs, the technology to build better batteries. That's great for us hot rodders because we look at that and go, I'm going to steal that and reuse it in my car. And why reinvent the wheel when someone just spent billions of dollars doing it better? Next 3 years, we got people like AEM, we've got people like us, we have all these different networks of aftermarket guys building neat stuff, talking together, and now, hey, you got a cool thing, let's integrate it. So now my system works with yours. Legacy EV is a partner of ours. We're building new battery packs, BMS systems, to make it easier for you guys to hot rod your vehicles. So you don't have to do what we did 2 or 3 years ago. So what I see over the next 2 or 3 years is more integration, safer products, and taking a lot of the guesswork out of this stuff and be able to take what the OEs, we could regurgitate it and make it much more attractive for the rest of you to use.
Nice, thank you.
We're looking at so many technologies. I feel like Automotive News week to week is talking about what the newest technology will be, but I think in the equation, the constant, whether it's hydrogen, EV, how they're being sold at the dealership, I think the constant in the equation is the technician. So 3 years or 30 years, no one is thinking that the technician is not part of the equation, where everything else is kind of on the board, whether it will be.
That's great. Yeah. Awesome. You ready to go?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll be fast.
Okay.
In the next 3 years, mechanics are growing their total addressable market. They've only been able to service gas and diesel, and now they get to add a whole new powertrain to their portfolio. So the opportunity to grow their business with a little bit of training and experience is going to be really invaluable, because there's going to be a long time where we're going to have all of these powertrains on the road, at least a decade. Probably many more decades. And so being able to work on all of those powertrains is going to allow those mechanics who are worried to thrive in the changing industry.
More options.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's that? You can't, you have an NDA probably, you can't tell us what's going on. All right, Elon's not listening. What's happening in the next 3 years? How do teachers get ready? What should we do?
Not good. Basically, the next 3 years, what's going to happen is that there's going to be hundreds of thousands more of EV vehicles out there, and there's going to be even less technicians to work on them. And why is that? Because we as a nation have spent the last 40 years telling kids that their future lies in a 4-year degree. And that's been keeping them out of trade school because their parents are pushing them to go to university and getting that 4-year degree instead of getting into the trades. So that's a 40-year mindset that needs to change. So just focusing on the kids in the classroom is not going to be enough. We need to try to reach the parents, that the message get to the house. Like, this is not your only option. You can go into the trades, you can be successful in life doing something else than getting in debt on a 4-year degree that's going to end up paying you less than working with your hands.
Well, to touch on that, did we tell people, like, technicians make good money? I mean, they can make a lot more money than a 4-year Ivy League degree. Way 4 days a week.
And
I'm not asking you what you're making, but on like a high spec, a decent technician.
Technicians out there in the dealership world are making more money than me. So a master technician at any dealership making regular hours, like not crazy hours, can earn anything between $100,000 and $150,000.
There you go.
Yeah, plus the stock options.
So
It's real.
I've got 3 guys working 4 days a week making 6 figures.
Right.
Okay, I mean, you know, and they're
Yeah.
making me money. They're profitable at 4 days a week, making 6 figures.
Well, I thought that they had to go to college for that.
Did you bring some job applications? I'm down with that.
Okay, so,
So-
we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
Go for it. Next 2
So
years,
two
what's
things.
happening?
One is obviously, 2023, we've seen EVs take off exponentially. And then in the last year, we've seen a little bit of a pullback. Manufacturers, they're hedging their bets with hybrid. There's hydrogen, so different things. This part's easy, right? Technology is going to keep going. Autonomous driving, ADAS systems, EV systems, new battery technologies, that stuff's coming, again, exponentially faster and faster and faster. The other one, I'm glad nobody mentioned this because it's true, artificial intelligence. And I hate to say it, it's a big buzzword. It's going to change the way we work. It's going to change the way we teach. It's going to change the way we learn. It's still not going to take the technician out of the equation. Technicians are going to be more productive. They're going to be smarter. They're going to be more accurate. It's going to be more fixed right the first time. But because AI is going to help us, and just embrace that and be prepared with all this, the other new technology. Be prepared for that new technology as well.
Are they using AI in Tesla where you can plug AI into the Tesla and then figure out the problem?
it's happening already.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. All right, on that, we're wrapping up. Thank you so much to all the people on the panel.
Before we get up, thank you.